Did you add me to the stage?
We are live and ready to go. We're
Beautiful.
going to talk we're going to talk about the 3 easy steps to consistent real estate sales. How to stop the roller coaster.
Everybody loves the roller coaster.
It's the number one reason people leave real estate sales. All right, let's get started. So there's 3 easy steps of real estate sales, and that is creating a business plan, and then education, execution, and evaluation. And we're going to break down these 4 things: the business plan, the education, the execution, and the evaluation, in what our team does to help our agents remain consistent in sales.
Have a plan. That is when we were talking the other day, because we were onboarding a new agent. And so it's always, good, like whether you've been doing this for 25 years or, if you were on our last mid-year review, a lot of this is very familiar. But when you're building your business plan, it really does come down to those 3 things. Most of the time, when you're brand new, you do need the education, right? The execution, I think, is really the thing that's where the roller coaster comes in, right? We all start with nothing. We all start at the bottom. We all start with 0 sales, 0 clients, 0 everything. And the only way that will get better is through execution. Which, 2 things that will help that, and the kind of the bookends of that is education. So learning what to say and how to say it and kind of your strategy. And then holding yourself accountable or evaluating your results. And whether you hire a coach, you join a team that holds you accountable, you get a peer partner, you make your kid hold you accountable, promise that you'll take them to Disney World when you sell the amount of houses that you want to for the year. And so, if you tell a, 12-year-old or under that you'll take them to Disney, if you hit your goal, you'll probably get asked before every meal, I'm sure, like, are you on track? If they
Yeah.
get something out of it. So basically, when you look at it, education is the foundation. And, again, all of us start with, really no experience. You're the things it takes to be successful, I think, in sales, or things it takes to be successful in any endeavor, is really just educating yourself on the best practice. If you take care of clients, they'll take care of you.
100%. And I apologize for the slides. I don't know what's happening, but it looks like it mushed it all together.
That's all right. We like that.
We just love that. This is the fun part about live. You don't see it until we're live because the download is good.
If you send us a DM, if you send Luetta a DM, or you send it to us, we're going to get you a copy of this. It will actually come through clean. But for some reason, when we go on StreamYard, it just gets crabby. So
yeah. All right.
If you ask us for it, you'll get a copy of this, and it'll come through clean and easy to read. This is easy enough for this. I mean, we'll talk. We'll just talk. So I mean, it'll be a.
Yeah, we'll
go through it.
What the next ones look like. All right. So business plan is number 1. You have to have a plan. That's the first thing. The next is execution. So this is the ideal weekly schedule of Jason's, and what his Monday through Friday looks like. Jason, you want to go over that and why having an ideal weekly schedule is important?
Yeah, so there's 2 reasons, or there's 2 things, if you really break it down to the simplicity of your execution, what you can do. Number 1, your strategy, and what you're going to say, who you're going to say it to. So your business plan, you're going to pick 3 or 4 different groups of people that you're going to get really good at talking to. Whether you have a sphere, we'll go back through that page quickly, but when you look at your ideal weekly schedule, you should build it based upon what's going on in your life. So for me, I get up pretty early. The form that we use actually just starts at 7, but I get up quite a bit before that. but kind of that morning time is mine, right? I don't book appointments early in the morning. I don't, book coffee or breakfast meetings with clients at 7 o'clock. That is sort of my time to get ready for the day. I do a morning call with our team at 8:30. So that's the first work thing that happens for me 4 days a week. One day a week, I have a networking meeting for an hour on Thursdays. And that's considered that prospecting time. So you'll see that's all in green. That's your money time, right? So those are the things that you get paid for. Now if you run a team, build a team, have a business, are an owner of a business, or have people who report to you, then you should have 3 blocks of time. Those are the red blocks, and those blocks of time are going to be to work on your 3 main priorities of your company or your business. So for me, lead generation is number one. That's on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock, or 1:30. And then I have a staff meeting with our office to talk about systems and things that we're working on from the business standpoint. Other people, holding accountable, like a 135 that we have for the team operations. And then the other one is going to be recruiting or your people side of it. So all businesses have to have those, kind of 3 elements. So lead, systems, and people. So you should have those 3, call it 1 hour or 2 hour blocks of time in your calendar. If you're a CEO, or if you're running a company, or involved in leadership, then you have kind of those 3 priorities. The yellow are just available blocks of time, for appointments, whether it's appointments with recruits, appointments with people on the team, other agents, listings, buyers, those types of things. So it's not super scheduled, right? It's just more like, this is the time where I should be prospecting. This is the time where I'm going to be doing these 3 main priorities. And then these are all the different available slots between 1 and 5 p.m. If you have little kids and you pick them up from school at 3 o'clock during the, say the fourth quarter and the first quarter, and then part of the third and part of the second. So depending on how old your kids are and what school they're in, if you're have sports and different things, you may have appointment slots later because you have your kids from say 3 o'clock until 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, depending. So you maybe have a 7 to 8 o'clock, for emergency showings, in any market. Obviously, sometimes you can't wait 3, 4 days until your calendar permits to, get a buyer through a house. So depending on who you work with and what you do, I mean, if you're doing 3 open houses a week and they're almost always Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you may take 3 other days, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where you only work half days. Maybe you only work until noon or something on those days. So you should build an ideal weekly schedule. And I would say for most people, it's a little bit more difficult to have it be at, like, mine has grown into a pretty rigid um, calendar. However, things do pop up. It's just very, very seldom that I'm going to allow things to get into the green or the red areas. Missing those green and red areas is really, if you look at any of the roller coaster activities or roller coaster actions in your life, it's typically from not living by your calendar for a few months prior. So you kind of just react to life, and getting getting busy becomes kind of the biggest reason that you end up having those, the roller coaster where you're sliding down the hill is typically followed by being busy before that.
Exactly. All right. Now we're going to talk about our business plan. And so part of,
Yeah, so back up to the business plan once, Louetta, like for when we were looking at this, even the other day when we're talking with a new agent, like, do not pick 10 sources of business. Don't pick 15 sources of business. For most of you, your sphere is a huge part of your business. So that's why that one's kind of pre-checked. If you just moved to Minnesota, if you have 11 people in your sphere, it's just going to take a little bit longer, right? Because you want to get that up to a couple hundred people as soon as possible. But if you're sitting at 30 or 40, then you may need to pick 3 or 4 other sources of business. If you have a sphere of influence, and if you have 200 people, 300 people that you could add to a mailing list and marketing and all of the things that should be done from a marketing standpoint, then that would be the people within your group. Well, then, maybe you only need to add 2 other sources. So my sphere, it was I had a pretty big sphere when I started in real estate. The problem was the majority of them lived with their parents. So I mean, when you have a really big sphere, but a lot of them are 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, they're just really not at that buying age, but their parents were. Right. So I had a lot of coworkers, I had lot of those people, and I did FISBOs or for sale by owners and expireds and open houses. So I mean, those are really my three primary. And I teach anyone that's starting out, if you can't, figure out kind of what segment of the business you like the best, start with those, start with open houses for sale by owners, expireds, pick a couple of things that you can get good at. And talking to your sphere obviously is, the whole reason to have the other people is to build your sphere.
All right, so we'll go back to this one, which is, so each one of these items here in the business plan are the sources that you would choose to focus on. And like Jason said, you want 3 or 4 depending on how big your sphere is. And then each one should have a 1-page plan. So we have a 1-page plan for each of ours. And this is an example of what our open house plan looks like and what you need to do for it. Jason, do you want to go through that?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we should even say, I mean, if you want any of these 1-pagers, let us know. We can give you, basically any of the 1-pagers that we have. Don't send us a message asking for all 25 of them. But if you want 1 or 2, let us know. We can send you the 1-pagers for those. The open house plan, the big thing is really just looking at, like, in the beginning, I think a lot of people, they go and they throw a few open house signs out and they get there, 3 minutes before, and they're not necessarily doing, they're not doing any marketing or activities prior to the open. And I think, if you look at, 5 days before, you should be really figuring out what open houses are you doing, requesting your open house. Like for our team, you have to send the people, like our marketing people, you're going to send them a message on Monday and say, okay, these are the open house times that I have available. What houses are available this coming week? And if you're going to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, some people like to do Thursdays. But a few days before the open, you're going to have it scheduled through showing time. You're going to print a map of the neighborhood. You're going to know, okay, I'm going to door knock, 50 houses. You're going to print the flyers, or, like if you're on our team, we have these all printed for you. So you're going to have 50 flyers done to canvass a neighborhood prior. So now you're going to knock on the neighborhood 2 days before the open. So, and again, you can do this the day of as well. It just, for some of us, especially right now when it's 90 degrees, you might feel a little bit more fresh if you go to the open house, not door knocking 3 hours prior to the open when it's 90. So you be the judge on that. Just having things ready for your open house so that it isn't, it's just not something that you just accidentally go hope that someone shows up. If you door knock 50 houses around the neighborhood, you're going to, have a good script and dialogue. I mean, we have these things printed out for our agents prior to going to the house. But the main thing is, take away their number one objection. And their number one objection is, I'm not interested. And so we know you're probably not thinking of selling, right? We know you're probably not thinking of buying or selling, right? So if your opening script is taking away the number one thing that they're going to say, that's going to help. Right. So if you knock on the door, you say, Jason Gorman, Keller Williams, I'm holding the house down the road open. We know you're probably not thinking of moving. Right. Who do you think is the next most logical person in the neighborhood to move? Or do you know someone who would love your area? All right. So and get their opinion, just invite them to come to the open house. Our whole job or our whole goal is just to meet 50 people. And if you knock on 50 doors, you might meet 20 people. And 3 people might come to the open house. So I think the key is really to spend some time before really getting ready to hold a really successful open house. And the day of, like we have things even like the day of, like, dress for success. Don't be wearing, cargo shorts and a t-shirt. look like you deserve to be paid. And so when the neighbors are coming through, because half the people coming through an open house are neighbors looking to hire someone to sell their home.
Mhm.
So the
Yeah,
way
you
you
have to.
present the home, right? Having cookies, bottled water, notepads, things like we have a little, open house kit that we send people with that has everything in it. If you've ever been to an open house like I have, where you show up and you're 3 minutes before the start of the open and you're trying to go through your glove box to see if you have a pen, or rifling through the, drawer of the cellar trying to see if they have a pen. Just get yourself ready. Get yourself ready. Have your, we have a little open house box. You keep it in your trunk, and then everything that you need is in it to have a successful open house, other than yourself, and obviously dress for success and all those things. But have your flyers printed, do that stuff for the day before or 3 days before. Open house, make sure you put a ton of signs out. When I used to do them, I would do 10 or 15 signs, 20 signs per open. So if you're holding an open and you have 3 signs and you don't door knock and you don't invite any people, invite your friends and relatives too. Invite the people that know you, like you, and trust you. Invite your lenders to come. You'll notice that you usually get a flurry of activity together. So if you ever held an open, you had 7 or 8 or 9 people come through, and 6 or 7 of them came together, kind of back to back. It's usually because people are driving by or walking by and they see people coming and going, and then that feels like a safe home, right? If you're just the one lonely car in the driveway, it just doesn't, to a buyer, it looks like the realtor's probably in there.
Definitely helps having more people in.
So I would
And
always invite my
preparing.
lenders. People can bring you snacks or, whatever. Sometimes, depending, like when I did a lot of new construction opens, they would be slower because it's, maybe the 30th time it's been open. So those are great. If you're holding a slow open house, or it's going to be a little bit slower, and you can do a buyer consultation. I would do buyer consultations, have people stop by your open, that you're working with, simply just to have your meetings with clients. I mean, you can do those at an open house.
Awesome. All right. The second is database, and what we do for our database, our plan. This is an example of what we do for what we did in June. So do you want to go through this, Jason? How we increase our number one source, which is our Sphere database?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is really to have a plan. So what you're doing for your database, whether you have, 100 people or 300 people or 3,000, just having a plan, right? So we have, print media going out every month, emails going out every couple of weeks. What are the videos that you're doing? Are we doing training? So, it's the different things that we had in the month of June. Really just figuring out, okay, like if you break it down, like what are the events that you need to cover this month? And this goes back to really just planning out your entire year. So June is a busy month, July is a busy month, August is a busy month for all of your clients and for you. So having the plan in advance just makes it easier if you're trying to figure out like how you're going to get everything accomplished. Like, what is the main thing? So an email to your database, a client success story, like what type of community events are going on. We did a charity thing in June, so we just needed to make sure we highlighted that. We also did an open cupboard donation for the food shelf. So like just highlighting the things that are happening during that month. Your second email that's going out, so the mid-year power play, which a lot of you were on that when we did that for LinkedIn Live last month, or in June rather. Yeah, we did it on June 9th.
Yeah, last month.
Yeah. So that is like, if you know that that's coming up, like, what are you advertising for that, marketing for that? Like, just making sure that you have your month sort of planned out. It's going to go a lot better. For our June postcard, it's our cash offer that we have. That was already pre-planned. We already knew that it was happening in June. So it's like the postcards can be ordered. They can be ready to be sent, because what happens is when you're just sort of, when you don't have a plan for your marketing, then it's the easiest thing to drop, which back up to that entire roller coaster again. If you're not proactively doing it, then you're going to reactively do it, or just do it when you have time, which obviously June, July, and August, you hopefully are busy. So then the thing that you stop doing is the marketing. You stop doing the things that take time. And then all of a sudden it's October and you're back to, you're going to run a postcard again, or you're going to do an email, you're going to market to your database. Well, now you ignored everyone for 3 months. So
Yeah.
it's just making sure that you have a plan so you can keep yourself on track.
Okay. Now we have another part of our execution, which is the daily activity record, or as you and I were talking about, the piece of paper we use from 1990.
It's so bad. I know. And I wish that there were a better way to do it today. If put in the chat, if you have a better way of tracking your daily activities, and I think that what happens in our industry, um, you have, like, we have a few different systems. So we use Brivity as our main CRM, our main database. Then we use another lead source called Fellow, which also bolts onto our database that markets to tens of thousands of people that are in our system, right? So they're the people in our database, but then there's many other people, all kinds of leads and people that we don't necessarily have a built relationship with yet. So we have that system. And then we have all the different lead providers, right? So there's lead syndicators and lead aggregators, not all of which are going to dump into your CRM. So some do, and then some actually go into a round robin, and then they're dealt to our agents. So making sure that, if you get someone at an open house, again, like if you're filling out an online thing, but there's houses. I mean, we were just at one the other day. It's like, I mean, there was really sketchy internet, like a cell phone signal was horrible. There was no Wi-Fi. The place was vacant. Like, and now you're there with your iPad, but unfortunately you can't get the people's information. So, so we went, that agent actually just used the regular paper, registration, got the people, actually got a really good buyer and seller out of it, because they actually had the paper. And so for a lot of you, maybe you're like me and you have 3 text messages, a couple of emails, a voicemail, you've got something in your database, and then you've also got a phone call from your aunt whose neighbor wants to move. And it's having this daily activity record is, how many contacts did you make today? Did you update your pipeline, or did you have an appointment, or did you book an appointment? That's really the 2 X's that you're looking at the end of the day. This paper thing, which you can have, if you're at a car wash, if you're out to lunch with someone, this is your reminder that you need to go back and update your CRM. So whether you got it from a lead system, whether you got it from an open house, whether you got it from your aunt, you got it from a text message from a person you went to high school with, if you booked a new appointment, or if you have a person to add to the pipeline, or an update you need to have to someone's in the pipeline, those are the 2 X's that you make. And if you make 20 contacts a day, even if you're really, really bad at scripts and dialogues and you're really, really inexperienced, you will make a ton of money in real estate, right? If you make 100 contacts a week, 400 contacts a month, 2,400 contacts a year, you will make a crazy amount of money in this business. But you're going to have to actually, make the contacts. If you make, again, let's say you've been doing this for 25 years, you got a ton of experience, and maybe right now you're averaging 2 or 3 contacts per day. If you start using this daily activity record, what you're going to notice is, if you're prospecting, so for me, living by my schedule, there's 2 things that I can inspect when I'm literally, if I have a coach, or anyone that you're being held accountable by, they should be asking you for 2 things. Show me your calendar, and show me your daily activity record. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I don't care if you're spending $1,000 a month on your coach, or 7,000 or $15,000 a month on your coach. They're going to ask you for your calendar, and they're going to ask you for your activities. And every single one of you is only stuck because of one of those 2 things. Like, all of us are stuck because of one of those 2 things, or both of those things. And that's literally how simple it is. And so the activities that we are doing, the money-making activities, which is prospecting and lead follow-up, that is your daily activity record. And if you make 3 or 4 contacts per day on average, and you do that on average 15 days a month, right? So you have 45 contacts in a month versus, 400. Well, then you can see where it would be pretty easy to 10 times the results of your business within 90 days by simply moving that one thing, that one metric. And that is just looking at how many people did I get in contact with today? How many people did I get in contact with this week? And if you track that leading indicator, that is the tip of the spear in all sales. It's the tip of the spear in real estate. It's the tip of the spear as an entrepreneur, right? Because the activities, the daily activities that you do will either lead you to the results, or they get you the results you have currently are currently based on your activities the last 90 days. So if you're not happy or satisfied with exactly where your results are today, the only thing you need to adjust is your calendar and your activities. And that's literally how simple this is.
Yeah.
And we make it complicated because it makes us feel better that it's hard. They make it really seem like it's really hard. It's not. It's very, very simple. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy, but it's not hard. It's very, very, very simple. And you just need to do what it is that will lead to the results you want. And so if you track it, don't get down on yourself. If you made 3 contacts yesterday and you made 2 contacts the day before and you made 0 the day before that, and you just had 5 contacts this week, so far. And so if your goal is to get to 50, well, then, like, either you're going to do 45 today and tomorrow, or in the next couple of days, or you're going to work Saturday and Sunday to get that back up, or whatever, or you're just going to decide, I want to adjust my goal. And we'll get to that on the accountability sheet, which again is pretty simple because you're either on track, or we're adjusting our activities, or we're adjusting our goal. And it's really that simple. People don't want to adjust their goal, but then the activities that they're doing are not going to hit their goal. And I think, well, but you did adjust your goal. That's where, you don't get to not adjust your goal, right? Because you're not on track to do the activities that would get you there.
Yeah. All right. Then the last slide is evaluation. So what do we do for evaluation?
It's really, and this is it, right? So you're either, so for every person, when you look at it just week in and week out, you've got January, February, March, you've got, basically week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and some of the weeks you'll see, obviously we have 5 weeks in a month. So one in January, one in January, one in May, one in July, and then one in October. And this is for 2026. So when you look at, let's just take July since we're in it, right? You got 5 weeks this month, which is always good, gives you a little bit extra time. But the first week, right? How were you? Were you on track this month? So let's just say that your goal was to book 8 appointments this month, right? So you want 8 appointments, 2 per week. So for that week, it was 2 appointments. I'm either on track, or I'm adjusting my activities, or I'm adjusting my goal. And so you pick which one it is. You're either on track, you're adjusting your activities, or you're adjusting your goal. You have to promise yourself at the end of the quarter, you have to adjust your goal, right? So you can adjust your activities within a quarter, but if at the end of the quarter you're 17 appointments short, don't just roll those into the second quarter and say, I'll just make it up. It's that you're putting an unrealistic expectation on yourself. Start with a clean slate and just nail it and knock it out of the park with the second quarter or the third quarter. So wherever you're at, so basically we're at the first half of the year is done. And so if your goal was to sell 40 houses this year and you sold 10 in the first half of the year, you're on pace to do 20. And so best case scenario, right? If you stay on track with your goal, maybe you do 20 in the remaining part of the year. So you're going to end with 30 instead of 40. And, so the 10 that you're missing, don't try to just add those and create this, big, huge tidal wave. Like, I'm just going to figure out how to make it up. It's like, well, first hit like this quarter, like quarter 3, just hit this quarter and actually nail it, like knock it out of the park and actually achieve your goal, rather than, just compound it and, basically start yourself behind.
Yeah, exactly.
And so whether you're going to hire someone to hold you accountable, like this is your accountability, right? You can give this to your spouse, you can give this to your, coach. If you have a coach, this is probably what they're using or something like it. So for us, you're really looking at it saying, okay, where is my business coming from? What are the activities, right? So that pie shaped thing, the peace sign thing at the top, what are the activities that you're choosing? And so, if you're choosing for sale by owners, expireds, and open houses, let's just say you add those three, then what source of your business is coming from those three? I mean, maybe your goal is to sell 36 homes and you're going to get 12 units from each one of those sources. And so, am I doing enough activities and am I doing the activities correctly? These are the things that you would go through with your coach to be able to say, like, what are the activities that I should be doing? And then, did I do the activities that will lead me to the result? And give yourself a little bit of time. I mean, you should be able to be on track within 90 days, right? There is literally zero reason. This does not take 3 years to get up to speed, right? You should be able to be up to speed in your activities within 90 days. Again, maybe not exactly where you want to be, but on your way, right? You should be able to see results within 90 days if you're doing the activities. If you're not seeing the results in 90 days, then what you look back and you say, okay, was I kind of halfways working the activities? So I was, I wanted 12 units from each of these sources. I was going to need, again, double that. Let's just say that you needed double the appointments. So each one of them, you needed 24 appointments to get 12 pieces of business. Well, did you do enough activities to get that many appointments? And ultimately, that's the big thing. Is like, well, I had 6 appointments. Like, well, best case, you could do 3 deals, right? And maybe you did 5. So you did better from a percentage standpoint, but you didn't do enough activities to actually get your goal accomplished. And I think that's, give yourself the grace. Like the accountability sheet is simply to say, are you willing to do the activities to get to your end result? And ultimately, I think that for a lot of people, they make up a goal and it's sometimes like a stretch goal or it's really high, but they don't want to do the activities to get there. So then 3 or 4 months later, they're making excuses about the market or the what's happening in the economy or with the war or who knows what. They blame anything except themselves. And if you look back, it's like it's just you not doing the activities and finding some sort of creative avoidance for 3 or 4 months that then gets you to the point where you're like, at the only time this can change is when you accept and say, okay, I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Right. Exactly. Holding yourself accountable is really important. And if you don't hold yourself accountable and you need a coach, definitely make sure to invest in one of those. It's super important. And if you want any of our 1-page plans to help you with your sources and how to do this, or any of our business plan information, just send us a DM. We'd be happy to share everything we have with you.
Yeah. So just to recap, education, execution, evaluation, you really have to make sure you have a plan. When you look at your business plan, it should include all three, right? So what am I doing to educate myself this month? One thing that we didn't spend a lot of time on, but I think it's worth noting, like, you just got back from a conference. I'm leaving next month for a conference, taking my son who's brand new to real estate. Like, you have to invest in yourself. So whether it's webinars like this, read a book, listen to a podcast, like there are so many things you can do that are really affordable. But you have to make sure that you have it in your calendar, right? Like if you want to become a listing specialist that is really, really good, there's a lot of activities that you can do. My son is actually using an AI coach just for script and role play, which is really, really good. And I think, so there's a lot of sources out there that you can do, but you're going to have to spend the time to educate yourself and to put it in your calendar, right? So make sure the education, the execution, the evaluation, like what are you doing to put those 3 things in your calendar? Because if it's not in your calendar, it doesn't exist. And that is, that's a truth that all of us learn, I think, the hard way.
Absolutely. All right. If you need anything or have any questions, send us a DM. Otherwise, we'll be sending out a new invitation for another class by the end of the month.
Sounds good. Thanks, Loretta.